Hey guys, today's HOA and HPR, which is horizontal property regime fees. So before we talk about that, quick favor to ask of you, if you're looking for an archive of all of these videos that we have done, if you'll please go to our YouTube page, which I've linked below. You can find any old video that you ever need to find, whether it's Gary's Good News Only or these legal tips are all archived there. If you would please subscribe to that page. We're trying to get our subscribers up. We're closing in on 200, and I really want to get to 500 ASAP. So if you guys would take a look at that page, we'd be very happy. HOAs and HPRs, I'm finding more and more clients coming to closing that had no idea there were two HOAs. They didn't know there were all these transfer fees and capital contribution fees. So as a buyer's agent, there's a couple things you need to do. Number one, look on the contract and see what has been disclosed by the seller. On the CCRA contract, we have a place for the seller to disclose the regular fees, annual fees, as well as any special assessment. And the way the special assessment fees work is whoever owns the property when the special assessment is levied, not when they're due, but when they're levied, that's going to be the person that's responsible for making those fees. So seller would be up until the day of closing, buyer after closing, but it's when they're levied, not when those fees are actually due. Now, make sure that you're looking here. And then also as a buyer's agent, make sure you're looking at the addendum to the seller disclosure statement. If they live in a neighborhood with restrictions, which is what you would have to have the HOA, is look at the HOA, look at the document they give here, because it does have the amount and it does have additional questions about it. Now, a couple of areas of concern. When you represent a seller, make sure if you live in a master association that has a sub-association that your seller's disclosing both of those. I've had sellers actually have claims filed against them. I've even had real estate agents have claims filed against them with the Realtor Association for not disclosing the sub-association or the master association. So think of something like a Lake Carolina here in Columbia. You have a master association, and then you have the individual neighborhood associations. Each one of those have their annual fees. Each one of them have transfer fees, capital contribution fees, and estoppel fees. So you got to make sure that both of those are being disclosed, because I have seen a rise in cases on those matters. If you are representing the buyers, in addition to looking in these two places, you need to look and ask questions. You need to know what neighborhoods have double associations. There's not many of them in town, though maybe the Wood Creek Farms, maybe something like that, or Wood Creek or Lake Carolina, some neighborhoods like that might have those, and you want to make sure that you know what neighborhoods those are. It's not going to be every one of them. It's only the ones that have multiple neighborhoods within that neighborhood. So it shouldn't be hard for you to get a list, or your office to have a list, or just to know that. A good agent will know that in your community. The second thing you need to do is you've got to make sure that you're checking and following up to make sure all the fees have been listed, because when your client comes to closing and they're expecting one HOA fee and now they find out there's two and it's $1,800 a year versus $800 a year, your clients tend to get angry. So you need to make sure that all of these are disclosed. I would even make sure you disclose them to your client anyway and let them understand that, hey, there's two associations here. That's got to be done before contract. Once the client signs a contract, that's not going to be a reason to get out of the contract after due diligence because they find out there's two HOAs. You need to make sure your client understands. Pick up the phone, call the HOA, call the closing attorney, ought to be able to get that information. As far as the estoppel fees and the capital contribution fees, most contracts aren't very clear as to who pays that. We believe that is a buyer fee. So if you're not sure, make sure you write that in the contract if another party is going to pay it. But make sure your client understands that those transfer fees and capital contribution fees typically are going to fall to the buyer unless it's something in the contract that says otherwise. So anyway, hope this helps you guys with the HOAs and HPRs. We are seeing a lot more fees being charged by all the associations. So you need to pay really close attention because your client's bringing more and more money to closing for these things. All right, y'all have a great weekend.